what you probably know Millennium as is a distributor. And so where we don't have the resources internally, we often look to our partners, which in this case is Widelity. And so, Brooke, do you want to take a minute to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I am Brooke Coleman. I'm gonna go back a slide as before we get started. I'm Brooke Coleman, Senior Manager at Widelity. We are a consulting service for helping people access broadband funding. And I lead up sort of our grants division, where we help people apply to broadband grants and access those funds. So we'll get into a little bit more of who Widelity is. But again, my name is Brooke Coleman, and yeah, I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yep. So, and I don't know if I quite introduced myself, but I'm Kevin Psyche, Vice President of Broadband Solutions here at Millennium, and kind of pick up all things Millennium from a Millennium perspective. So a little bit about Millennium. We are a distributor is our number one side of our business, and most people know us as a distributor, but we also have a couple other parts of our business and solutions that we provide. So we have our geospatial team, which provides design and data-driven solutions for our clients. We also provide inventory support. We have our renting and leasing team, and then we also have a flexible financing through our distribution side, and we have the Millennium Infrastructure Fund. So a little bit on the infrastructure fund. It's really the best way to describe it is a bridge loan between getting awarded funds to building your network to getting the funds actually given to you. So it's a way for you to build your network quicker and more efficiently and capture some of the pricing and efficiency that you can today before you actually get the public funding that you've been awarded. And we'll kind of touch on that, or Brooke will really get more detail that you'll kind of understand where it fits in.
Yeah, well, I think that kind of fits into, our partnership of, Millennium is the bridge, and Widelity is the grant side or the public side of the funding, and Millennium is more the private side of the funding. And that's sort of where our partnership has started and has just blossomed from there. We really like to provide a full end-to-end solution of broadband funding, whether it be public funding or private funding. Those are sort of our lanes, and we'll get to that sort of at the end. But we are Widelity, and again, a little bit more into who Widelity is and what we do is we help applicants determine your eligibility for a funding program. We write the actual grant application, make sure you're in compliance with all the rules of the program, make sure your application checks all the boxes. And then once you hopefully win that grant, we help with the post-award for the next 2 to 5 years, depending on how long that program is, do the reimbursement claims, the reporting, the documentation, the closeout process, all of the reporting and compliance documentation that goes along with government funding. We have been around since 2006. Our compliance team has just grown at a very rapid rate in the last few years, and so you can see some of our results and our numbers down below. We've done a lot of dollars and a lot of documents over the past just few years, and it's just growing even more with all of you can just imagine all the federal funding that's out there. So a little bit about our process is, our clients partner with us and leverage a lot of our extensive experience with the FCC, the NTIA, all the various agencies, and make a streamlined process, make templates, try to make the application process, even though it can be a nightmare. We try to make it as seamless as possible and try to coordinate and handle the RFIs that come out of the agencies and talk to the agency on your behalf. Sometimes an RFI has 2 to 3 days where you have to respond to the agency with a solid data-driven answer, and that can be really difficult. So Widelity ensures compliance with all the federal requirements and rules that go along with the programs in order to help you receive your funding. At the end of the day, you want those dollars in your pockets to be able to pay your bills, and that's our goal, to get those dollars in your pockets as fast as possible. Government funding is slow, so as fast as possible, we'll take that with a grain of salt. But that sort of brings us to the purpose of why we're together today, is to look at all the different broadband funding opportunities and options that are out there. There are a plethora that have come out in the recent year because of the IIJA funding that got passed. And so we're going to take a little dive into each program today and take a look at your funding options, what the timeline looks like, what the different rules around the programs are, and give you a chance to ask some questions and see if we can help guide you in the broadband funding space to see how we can get you some funding to expand your networks. So you can see here there's the BEAD funding, which is the big $42 billion, which is a lot of money into the broadband industry and is very exciting. There's the middle mile grants, there's the reconnects through the USDA, there's the tribal broadband connectivity. And again, right now, we're just talking federal programs. There's federal opportunities for broadband grants, there are state opportunities for broadband grants, and then there's local opportunities for broadband funding on a different level. So there's lots of different levels of funding. Right now, we're just focused on talking about federal. So all across the board, it's been pretty clear that the federal government has certain priorities for broadband funding. These programs have been designed to serve to provide broadband service to the underserved and the unserved areas. So unserved meaning less than 25.3, underserved meaning less than 120. And again, every program's a little bit different with their nuances of the rules, but that's generally the mission of the federal broadband funding is to get those underserved areas connected. Most of the programs require a match, and a match from non-federal sources. So it could be cash or it could be in kind, which is more like assets that you might have to be able to provide a match for. Another common theme is state and local coordination is encouraged. They really want to see partnerships. They really want to see states and local counties involved in your plans. If you can get a local county to support you financially, that would be amazing, but that's really difficult. So another alternative is getting, a letter of intent or a letter of commitment saying that they're committed to your project, and or a letter of support is probably the better term. A letter of support that they really support you, they support your project, they know what's happening. So local coordination is really key in all of these programs. And then as well, tribal and native entities often have some accommodations where they might not have to pay a match, or there might be some special accommodations for their situation. And so just to sort of reiterate, Widelity helps any kind of company navigate this process to see if you qualify for any of these programs, to help you through the application, and then the post-award reporting piece. And then, like I said, these are federal programs, but there are other opportunities through state and local funding options. So as promised, we're going to go through each one of these programs at a high level. For middle mile, that's just this one slide. This is it. So super high level, middle mile program is being distributed by the NTIA. It is open, active, happening right now. So applications are due for this program on September 30th. You may think, that's next month. You got plenty of time. But this is a very, very extensive application. So the clock is ticking on this program. It is $1 billion, which is great, but as probably all of you know, that is definitely not enough to build any sort of significant middle mile. So it's $1 billion. It is what it is. The funds will likely get used up pretty quickly. There will be BEAD funding that could maybe supplement any middle mile that doesn't get covered through this program. In addition, this program requires a 30% match for anyone participating. That is the minimum match. You can provide more match, and you can get more points on your application if you provide more of a match. And like I said, the middle mile infrastructure is for unserved and underserved areas. They want to promote network resiliency. They do want open access to be provided. It is not a requirement, but you will get more points on your application if you provide open access to your network. They do expect awards to be between $5 million and $100 million to try to, help give you a scale for what size projects that they're looking for. Pre-application expenses are covered up to $50,000, and that would be, for an example, Widelity's costs. Widelity's cost of helping you put together your application, any environmental work that needs to be done for the environmental requirements for the application, things like that. And then the fund does cover middle mile infrastructure, the construction and building of it, and the labor and resources that would be required or involved. So that's, again, super high level of middle mile program. It's a great program, but it's happening now and it's fast. So as I said, the applications are due September 30th. if this is a program you're interested in applying to, I hope that you're far along in the process, because there's a lot of moving pieces that need to be done and moving. We're currently helping clients put together their applications right now, and we do have a hard stop date of accepting new clients of September 1st, because in order to produce a quality application, we're going to need a couple of weeks to kind of put the information together. So just want to throw it out there that middle mile is happening. And it's happening fast. So I'm going to take a break and take a drink of water. If anyone has any questions you want to throw in the chat on the middle mile, please feel free.
Brooke, I was just going to add, you mentioned the open access, and from a provider perspective, that is something to consider when you're building out your network, that if you are going to go ahead and add the open access piece of it to try and get the middle mile, what that really means is that you're going to have to provide access to other providers. And so when you're sizing your network, I just want that to be a thought in the back of your mind, whether you want to include that as part of your request for funding, and obviously scale your network for that open access. And so it's just something to think about, and I appreciate you mentioning that was one of the criterias.
Yeah, and another sort of criteria with that one is passing anchor institutions. They want anchor institutions to be past providing service of 1 gig, passing those anchor institutions. So they really want high speed service. Fiber is the priority for this program. It's not a requirement, but it is the priority. So yeah, any outstanding questions on middle mile? Good question, Jessica. Kevin, do you see that one? Would the 50K and pre-application fees cover any Millennium's fees associated with the infrastructure fund?
I mean, it could be part. You could use it from the infrastructure fund if you went ahead and took a bridge loan or whatever, but there wouldn't be a fee per se that would be part of that 50K. I think that pre-application expenses more on applying for the paperwork, getting information correct. I mean, that's not something that would be on the infrastructure side. When you put that in
I'd agree with that, Kevin. It's going to be more your application expenses, any sort of pre-work, any engineering costs that may need to be maybe needed for mapping or engineering planning or environmental reviews.
Yep.
Did I hear anyone out in the audience with another question? No? Okay. Cool. So moving into Reconnect. Reconnect is a program run by the USDA, our US office, and it has been running for a couple of years. They just opened the round 4. Well, I should say they just released the new rules for the round 4 of Reconnect. They announced a couple of winners from round 3, I believe, last week. So things are happening and moving in the Reconnect program. So right now there's $1.9 billion out there for the Reconnect program. And generally it's a 25% match, but there's a lot of caveats that go with it. This is it can be a kind of dense and complicated program. So I'm going to try to, again, keep it high level, but there is a 100% grant program. So you can apply for a grant. If you apply for a grant, there will be a match. There is a 50-50 loan grant. So you could have 50% of it be a loan, 50% of it be a grant. And then the third option is 100% loan. And I believe the interest rate on that loan is 2%. So the grant, the 100% grant and the 50-50 is going to be competitive. And I will say the 100% grant, as you can probably imagine, is very competitive. I think they had over 300 applications on round 3 that were submitted. And tribal, there's some nuances for tribes that are applying. If a tribe is applying, they don't have a match requirement, but internet service providers and private companies are eligible directly. They do not want groups or consortiums to apply. They just want one entity to apply, produce one application, and private companies are eligible, as well as states, as well as counties, and the usual rundown. But private companies are eligible. And I think this next slide goes into a little bit more details. Now, The speed requirement with this one is confusing. So we are going to have to go back and update this slide. I was just on the webinar today, like 2 hours ago, that went through the Reconnect 4 rules. They have changed yet again the Reconnect speeds. And so it is actually 100 over 100. It is 100 over 100 symmetrical. So we have symmetrical in there, but we need to fix the 100 over 20. You know, in order to participate in this program, whoever you serve, you have to provide speeds of 100 over 100. This program does target low density rural areas that are very unserved or underserved. And again, because we just had this webinar 2 hours ago, this slide wasn't updated. It says 90% of households must lack sufficient access. Those were the rules from round 3. They have updated round 4 to be now 50%. So if it's 50% of households that lack sufficient access, meaning less than 100 over 20, then that would be an eligible area to do a project. Now, there's a caveat. If you can do a funding area that is this 90% of households that lack sufficient access, then you can apply for a grant and there is not a match requirement. So if you're in the 50% of households that lack sufficient access, there's a 25% match. If you're in this 90% of households that lack sufficient access, then there is no match required. So there are a lot of nuances with the Reconnect program, and I only have 2 slides on here for this program. But since we just were on the webinar with the new rules, there, may be an opportunity for us to do another webinar in the future going in detail over the Reconnect program.
Yeah, and I'd like to add just like one thought on that new ruling. That's huge, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of speaking from my old life as being on the provider side. So the 90% piece was always a tough hurdle because a lot of times you'd be looking at an area where it was profitable, and it was the 90% was tough because usually people had some type of service already in the 100, or even some of the older speeds where it's 25 by whatever was 10. But the 50% is huge. So I would expect a lot of the providers to be eyeing that 50% a little differently now, because it'll definitely change the economics pretty quickly if only 50% have to have sufficient access. That's huge.
Yeah, exactly.
Almost double the opportunity.
Yeah, but they will have to still be in very rural areas. And so the USDA has a whole definition on what the rural area is. And luckily the USDA has a great map. You can go and check out that they block off certain areas that are not eligible for funding. And so there's a lot of different nuances with their program. So utilizing their map, I think, would definitely be a first step if you're interested in this program. Take a look at their map and see, what they say there. Projects have to be completed within 5 years of receiving funding. And the big thing to note here is that the application window will open September 6th. So that is in the blink of an eye in my mind, and it will be open until November 2nd. So that one is coming up here very fast. If this is a program that you're interested in applying to, I recommend jumping on it yesterday. It is a very extensive application. There's a lot of requirements. One of them is audited financials. I know this is a challenge for very small internet service providers. So something to think about and consider. There's just a lot of requirements involved with Reconnect. You also have to have a certified engineer or a PE certify your technical plan. So that's another piece that can take some time. And November 2nd will be here, before we know it. So again, if this is a program you're interested in, I suggest looking into it sooner rather than later and getting those plans kind of figured out, because it's a pretty dense program to apply to, but could be a great opportunity for you to get some funding to expand your network. So before I go to the next one, I'll pause, see if anyone has any questions on Reconnect. Okay, no worries. We'll jump along. So the next one is the BEAD. BEAD program is obviously a very hot topic because it is $42 billion. It is a lot of funding, and every state will get 100 million as a base, and every state has said that they will participate and has submitted their letter of intent to participate to the NTIA. And these funds, this 42 billion will be divided among the states and the territories, and then each state will set up their own grant program that they will run, and then an internet service provider like yourself would therefore apply to your state BEAD program. And so, like I said, every state will get a minimum of 100 million. The remaining funds will be based on a formula based on the new FCC maps. So depending on what the new FCC maps say and the information that they have, that will determine the additional funds that get added to that state's pot of money. Territories will get a minimum of 25 million, and then maybe some additional on top of that. And that 5% for pre-planning and pre-deployment, those are funds for the state to use in their pre-planning activities. And so those states are using those funds right now to be able to create their 5-year action plan. So unfortunately, it's a lot of money, but we can't quite access or do anything with it just yet because it's in the hands of the state and the NTIA. But we do encourage everyone to start reaching out to your state broadband offices. Sub-grantees can be involved in, sub-grantees would be, you, the internet service provider. They can be involved in the planning process as the states are setting up these programs. And a lot of states want local input and local opinions. How should they set up their program? What should be prioritized? Which areas are not being served? That kind of thing. So states haven't yet defined their application requirements, but they want your interest and input now. So those are some things that you can do now with BEAD. As far as timeline goes with this program, we don't expect any sort of programs to be established or people to be able to start applying to BEAD programs until probably 2023, 2024. It's going to be some time. There's a lot of things that need to happen and a lot of moving parts and pieces that need to be sorted out before BEAD funding can even become, an opportunity. Any questions on BEAD? Good question, Randy. So Randy's question is, if I've never applied for something, could Widelity help with, and do we contact Kevin? You can contact either one of us, and we'll get to, on the last slide, our contact information and sort of how our partnership works. But yeah, you can contact either one of us and we'd be happy to help. Kevin, you want to add to that? No, I guess he went away.
Yeah, no, I'm back. I thought you answered really well. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just the sooner the better, obviously. And if you're thinking about any of these programs, even if you're not going to make the window now, most of these will come back in some form later. So it starts to prep you for what comes next. And I think BEAD's probably going to be the next one that you want to get everything in the right places so you can go after it and get the money to serve the areas that you want to serve that are considered obviously underserved. Mm-hmm. So can't stress that enough, to get either us or someone involved now rather than later.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too, Kevin, is that if you put together an application for NTI Middle Mile or Reconnect that are happening now, and let's say you don't win, that's disappointing, but you can use that same application, the same information, a lot of the same data and content for a BEAD application or another program or a different program. There's nothing to say that, you're going to do all of this work for this one application. You can use it again. Let's say if that area is still eligible and if you still want to pursue funding for that area, you can, apply for a different program in a different way. So I had another slide for BEAD. My bad, there's more. So I guess some key goals for the BEAD program is to obviously construct networks for the unserved and underserved. It's a broken record at this point. Providing high-speed internet with at least one low-cost option. And this actually goes to Reconnect as well. Reconnect has a new requirement that you have to participate in the FCC ACP program. So the Affordable Connectivity Program. I may have butchered that acronym, but you know, they want, and BEAD and Reconnect both want providers to be providing at least one lower cost option to their subscribers. So if that is not something that you currently do, I recommend looking into the FCC ACP program, seeing what it takes to get set up in that system, because that is going to be something that's going to be required for any sort of grant funding kind of down the road. And then
And typically that program also has funding for the other side too, for the consumers, where they can get some type of aid involved with that. And there's we can get the information for you, but basically if they qualify for any type of low income support, they typically would get funding from them to help pay the bill. So
the subsidy,
yeah, and some of them come directly to the providers, and then some of them go to the individuals. It's been a while since I touched on some of that stuff, but it's something to consider when you're going into some of the more rural areas where income is a little tougher.
Yep. And then just a couple more things on BEAD is there is a 25% match that will be required. Previous recipients of other federal grants may apply. So, if you've applied for RDOF or for Reconnect or the BEAD or the Middle Mile program, you can still apply for BEAD. There is no exclusion there. You will have to disclose what federal funding you have and what projects they would be for. The federal government does not support, double dipping, getting funding from two separate sources for one area or for one project. That's going to be highly frowned upon. So making sure you're separating your two or three or four different government projects will be, what you want to do. You will also, just like Middle Mile, have to provide financial, technical, and managing a capability and certify that you are a company that can do all of these things. And so with that, again, comes audited financials. So if you're planning to apply to Reconnect and you're really hesitant to get those audited financials, I understand, I get it. It's an expense that is not something you're used to, but it will be something that you can use then again for BEAD funding applications in the next year or two. And then the FCC will, they say, provide new maps by the end of this year and hopefully sometime soon. And then you can see at the bottom sort of our estimated timeline. Again, well, estimated by the FCC. And again, this is just an estimate and super far range, because you can see state proposals are due between 2022 and 2024. That's a 2-year range. That's not really specific or helpful. So that's why we're saying we don't anticipate programs opening up for people to apply to until late 23, early 24. And then program completion will be 28, 29. So I'm pretty sure that was my last slide on B. Yes. So now we're moving into the tribal broadband connectivity program. So I know a lot of you may be in rural areas that have tribal lands. So I just wanted to take a brief moment to talk about this program. This program actually started and had rounds of people applying and tribes applying last year, but they will be opening up another round late this year. They got an additional $2 billion in funds. So they will be providing an opportunity for tribes to apply. And for this program, the only eligible entity is a tribal entity. So you as an internet service provider would not be the main applicant. The tribe must be the main applicant. But the tribe could partner with an internet service provider in order to participate in this program. The internet service provider could do everything and provide the service to the tribal land, but the tribe must be the main applicant. And there are sort of two purposes for this program. It's could be building infrastructure and building up the network there, and it could also be for use and adoption type programs. And I think I have another slide on that. But there is no match requirement for this program, and tribes can partners with non-tribal entities, so that you would be the internet service provider partnering with the tribe. And so, like I said, there's sort of two divisions of this program for tribal broadband connectivity. The infrastructure would be, building fiber, building wireless, building out infrastructure to get the middle mile or last mile connections out onto the tribal lands. This would be a 4-year project, and they expect awards to be between 1 million and 50 million. And then the other bucket of funding can be used for use and adoption. So, broadband education, skill development, telehealth, remote learning, reduced cost services, so a subsidy for their internet bill, devices, things like that. And so that again is another 4 years for that program, with a $50K to $2.5 million award. Any questions on the tribal broadband program? So, like I said in the beginning, those were all the federal broadband funding programs that are available right now or in the very near future. There are also state level programs that could be available in your state right now. Kind of depends on where you're at and what the state is working on. So you may find resources at your state or even at the local level in the individual counties that you're trying to do projects in. So some of these states are using their capital projects funding in order to set up programs within their state, and they may have application deadlines either passed or coming up soon or coming up in the very near future. So if you are looking for funding, I recommend looking at your state broadband office and taking a peek to see what programs they've set up. Louisiana is one of my favorite acronyms. It's the Gumbo program. And they use their capital projects funds to set up their state program in Louisiana. So, if you are looking at state funding, might be something to look into. Widelity has worked with Millennium to create a bunch of resources. We haven't gotten to all 50 states yet, but we do have probably 20 to 25 states completed of research and resources for you on what the current broadband situation is in your state. So if that's something you're interested in, you can reach out to your Millennium sales market manager or Kevin, and he can help you there. Sorry, I got a question in the chat.
We did. I didn't see it come in on my end.
No, it's okay.
Oh, you got a direct message probably.
Yeah. Are funding sources available for service that is to assist end users pay for B2B service? I'm not familiar with B2B service or BB service. Broadband service?
Broadband. Yeah, broadband.
Okay. All right. Yes, thank you. Okay. So to assist end users to pay for broadband service, that's going to be the ACP program. That's going to be run by the FCC. That's the Affordable Connectivity Program. And so that's going to provide the end users a discount on their broadband bills. And so that is something that an internet service provider can participate in, as long as you're a registered internet service provider and providing service to your subscribers, then you can participate in that program. It can be a bit of a headache to sign up for, as you can imagine, and complicated process. So not going to say it's easy, but it does exist. And if you're wanting to participate in these grant programs, it's something you definitely want to consider, because the agencies will be looking at that and seeing if you're offering, that assistance to your subscribers. So yeah, the last thing I think I want to say about the state funding is that there is state funding that's out there. If you need help navigating that, please just let us know. We have lots of research and lots of resources available for you. And then finally, at the local level, each county has received funding from the IIJ, from all the coronavirus relief funding, that specifically the SLFRF fund. And counties have received millions of dollars, and they can use that funding for water, for sewer, or for broadband. Or there's a whole slew and variety of things that the county can spend those funds on, which is great for the local municipalities and local communities. But part of those funds can be spent on broadband. So since this is not a grant program, it's a little bit different, but what you could do is talk to your local commissioners. If you have a local broadband task force or a local broadband office, or people at the county level who talk about broadband, have a conversation with them and see if there would be an appetite for an unsolicited proposal. Would they entertain the idea of funding $1 million project to expand broadband to an area that's in very need of service. They have funds available to do that. It will be up to the county if they choose to do that or not. So it is a very political sort of game to navigate that can be challenging depending on the county. But there are a couple of counties who are open to the idea, and we are helping, some providers draft those letters to the county to try to, put through an unsolicited proposal of, hey, this is the project I want to do. This is how much it's going to cost. Will you fund my project? So that's an opportunity. And the speed requirement for that would be 100/20 with a scalability of 100/100. So you'd have to, that would be the service you would have to provide with building that project. So yeah, that I think is the end of our broadband funding kind of overview. Those are the different programs that are available right now. And so hopefully you can see where this kind of partnership has come from. Like I said from the beginning, Kevin and Millennium are the private side of the funding for broadband projects. Widelity is more the public side, the grants, the compliance, the documentation. You can think of us sort of as, tax accountants. You can do your taxes yourself. You can do your grant applications yourself too. But once they get to a complex level and the amount that's needed for compliance on some of these programs is just too much to handle. And so that's sort of where we can come in and assist if you need us.
Yeah, I just wanted to add here, it is a great partnership, and I know taking a lot of this information in is pretty overwhelming. And I think one of the things you can take from it is that even listening to Brooke talk about at a high level can be a little bit to take in. And so it's interesting. Brooke and I have been working together for about 6-7 months pretty closely with different clients and different events. And, I completely understand what you're saying and understand what it means to you as a provider. And I meant to mention this earlier, but I want to mention it now. I mean, there's companies out there that are either going after the funding and not getting it. I think the big news yesterday was, Starlink didn't get the $880 or so million that they were looking for, even though they probably met most, if not all, of the requirements. And then there's other companies that have already gotten funding and haven't met the requirements and now are having to either pay it back or pay fines or get the work done. Or there's even companies that have gotten funding, didn't build it, and are giving the money back, which if any of you applied for it and didn't get it, gives you an opportunity to get the money as well. So some even the old programs where maybe it looked like the money was gone may or may not be. So it's just something to think about, that there's very large companies, as Brooke kind of mentioned, they work with all different clients. And so the very largest and the very smallest, and it's because it is complicated, it's government, and it requires, depending on what government you're talking about, as Brooke mentioned, some of these, if it's more local, it requires less red tape. And the higher you go up in the federal side, it'll require more red tape. And I think you'll find that, Brooke and her team are excellent partners in this and can really help you navigate the funding side of it and make the job that you want to do, provide service to your customers, much, much easier and much more affordable.
Yeah, exactly. And so this one of our last slides here is just so everyone can sort of understand our partnership and our lanes. Widelity's role sort of in this process is to make sure you're eligible for a program, help you in the application process, help you obtain that funding, help you win, manage those claims for reimbursement post-award and those reporting requirements. So we're very much the paperwork side of things. And then, you can see Millennium's role in this partnership. I'll let you establish that, Kevin.
And I think, most people know where we fit in, but I think, we tend to forget that we're also able to really help you understand and fulfill your goals, provide network planning with our geospatial team, help you with supply chain, strategize with you, sit down and talk to you, try to figure out what the next, we just talked about the next, 5+ years, there's going to be significant money coming out. And so if you don't have a strategic plan on what your build looks like for the next few years and what you're going to go after, I really recommend that you get going on that now. And we're happy to sit down and talk to you about what that means from a material perspective, so we can make sure that all of the horror stories that are out there as far as supply chain are not your concern, and really help you get your deployment done quickly and efficiently, and you're not waiting for things, because that can create challenges when it comes to the funding aspect, meeting the requirements for project completion.
Right. Yeah, if you're not within the years that are outlined within the program, there's going to be challenges there. You have to ask for an extension. An extension only lasts so long, and you have to provide evidence as to why you need that extension, and which is just more paperwork. And then the last point I want to make about our partnership is that our partnership between Widelity and Millennium is not exclusive. It's just a friendly partnership. We're just helping each other out and coming to you to provide a whole set of solutions. If you want to work with Millennium and work with a different compliance or grant writing team, totally fine. If you want to come to Widelity and have us help you with your grant, and then you don't use Millennium, you use someone else, totally fine. It is not an exclusive relationship. You don't have to work with Millennium and Widelity. We're just coming at you to provide, the full set of solutions to try to help you get broadband funding and expand your networks.
Great point.
And then this is our last slide and last point is our resources. You can reach me at brooke.coleman@widelity.com. And if you want to know more information about our funding team and all the different projects, our experiences, and gather some good resources, we have a website, widelity.com/funding, and you can download our, we have program information packets that go into more detail than I went in today. And you can download that to get some more information about any of the programs that I talked about today. Those are great resources. And then my last point before I hand it off to Kevin to close is that on our website, if you are interested in applying to Middle Mile or applying to Reconnect, those two programs are happening super fast. Please reach out if you want help as soon as possible. And if you go to our website, there's a button that says, it's one of the very first buttons there on the page, and it says that you can contact us, and then it'll take you to my calendar, and you can pick a time on my calendar and schedule a meeting, and we can get started on it next week. We are here to help support you be successful. So if you're interested in anything, please feel free to do that. So over to you, Kevin.
Brooke, I love that you love what you're doing because I am happy that you do it. Makes our lives a lot better, and I know it helps our clients out. So I very much appreciate what you and your team do. You can see here in the middle, the Millennium Infrastructure Fund. Highly recommend to go to the fttxfund.com. Check that out. There's a couple different tabs in that page, so you can get a good feel for what what the fund is for, and then you can obviously send us an email and let us know if you're thinking about using the Millennium Infrastructure Fund. And then last but not least is the Broadband Solutions at mtpllc.us. That comes to me and a couple others here at Millennium to help answer your questions.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining today. Greatly appreciate it. If you all have any questions or need anything, please feel free to reach out. Evan, will you be sending out the slideshow to everybody after this email or after this webinar?
Yes, so afterwards we will be following up, and then you will be able to find pretty much all of this and the recording on our Middle Mile landing page that we did with Widelity as well. So
thanks, Evan.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate everyone's time and you stopping in, and please reach out if you need anything.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, thank you.